Before we start, I would like you all to take out a banknote, if you have one in your pocket, your wallet, or your handbag. It can be any kind of note, Hong Kong dollars or different kind, low or high denomination, because in a moment we are going to do money-eating competition. You heard me correctly, we are going to eat the money. I will count down from 3. And when I say start, you eat your banknote as quickly as possible. And the first one who is finished, please stand up so I can see who is the winner. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm only kidding you. Don't worry, put away that banknote before any of you gets ill from the germs on it. Actually, eating money can prove a very useful skill, and I will come back to that later. But first, I would like to introduce myself, some of the mischievous actions that I've done in the past, and of course the Mischief Fund, which is the subject of this talk. I'm Elena SIMONS, I'm 33 years old, and I'm from Amsterdam in the Netherlands. My background is in art, advertising, but also activism. And my hobby, as you can see, is making party hats. I'm a great lover of mischief, especially if it's aimed to change the world. And when I was a teenager, I started doing some mischievous actions, and I would like to show you a couple of examples from the years after that. Back in 1999, a group of friends and I got together and we took a few weeks to go outside on garbage night. We collected all the items from the trash that still looked as good as new. Then we went into a department store and we stole price tags from the same kind of items. We attached them to our products and then we secretly put them back in the store so they could be sold as new. Tomorrow I'm hosting a workshop, it's called the Reverse Consumption Movement, and it will be based on this action. Then we did a campaign called Sex for Animals, because we found out that in the Netherlands, hundreds of millions of animals die every year as a virgin. I'm sure it's not much better here. And so we did a campaign for some basic animal rights. The right to flirtation, the right to choose their true love, and of course the right to some red-hot sex occasionally. We got a lot of media attention with this, as you can understand, and one popular radio DJ, he spent his whole radio show and devoted it to live animal dating, so people could call up and find their animal mate. Then 4 years ago, I realized my actions, they were making a bit of a difference, but the world was still looking really bad. Oil is running out, the climate is changing, fish are being caught out of the sea, our financial systems are a mess. If we go on this way, most of mankind will die by the end of the century. So we need change, and we need it fast. Now there are different human capacities that are essential to change. 47% is innovation, to develop the cutting-edge technologies that will be 100% environmental friendly. 24% is vision, so we can see and believe in a different world and be encouraged to fight for it. 17% is protest. We must remind the people in power, in corporations and in politics, that they must do the right thing. And of course, 12% is mischief. Because mischief is a powerful tool to make people laugh, to make them aware of issues, and to activate them to do the right thing. So I realized 4 years ago that mischief is so important. And there are lots of people, young people mostly, who have mischievous plans, and nobody was supporting them yet. And so I started the Mischief Fund with the goal of finding and funding those young people. We are based in Amsterdam. There are 5 of us, and my job is the fundraising and also some of the PR, like speaking today. The money we get from rich people who were rebels when they were young, and now they find that they still have the same spirit, but they're no longer in a position to be so naughty, like maybe they've become a CEO themselves. And so I ask them for the money, and they usually love my party hats, and they make big donations. And then we get emails from everywhere, young people presenting their plans, and we select those ones that have the most exciting ideas and the guts to put them into action. There are lots of different kinds of mischief, and we have defined some mischief formulas that you could also use if you want to get up to no good. And I'll be presenting some of them and also giving you a few examples of the things that we support that could illustrate the formulas. The magical mischief formulas are the parasite, positive provocation, and people as products. The parasite, it means you take an existing context and you do your own thing within it. There's a brilliant group in Switzerland. They call themselves the Lies Inside. And they went to a conference. It's a hedge fund conference with investors in commodities like oil, wood, copper, fisheries. And the Lies Inside tricked themselves in by pretending to be a catering company. They promised to sponsor the conference with a free dinner. Then when dinner time came, they served up a 3-course money dinner. This was one of the courses. As I almost asked you to eat some money, you understand how the business people felt. At first they were intrigued. Then they got really uneasy as they started to realize there would be no food coming. And then the Lies Inside presented the prophecy of the Cree Indians. Only after the last tree has been cut down, only after the last river has been poisoned, and only after the last fish has been caught, then you will realize that money cannot be eaten. The Cree Indians had a point, but maybe we should learn to eat money after all. I encourage you all to practice, and if you master the art of money digestion, I think you'll be at a great advantage about 40 years from now. Another cool parasite action is from Brazil, where this group of street kids, they work together with a bunch of socially committed college students, and the street kids are really good pickpockets. So they actually managed to steal the speech of President Lula and put in a speech that they had written themselves. President Lula went to a national summit and he started reading the speech. And it started out really normally, and then he announced that a Robin Hood law would be passed, which meant that every street kid in Brazil will be guaranteed a job when they're 18. They will all have their own tree house in the rainforest, and their job will be to protect the rainforest with a bow and arrow. They'll all have a bulletproof vest, and they will scare people away by singing terribly out of key. President Lula had looked really uncomfortable while reading it, but at this point he was sure it was wrong. So he went to check with his staff, and they never found out who had done it. Instead, they fired the speechwriter. The next one, positive provocation. It means that you surprise people into a situation that will provoke them to think and act differently ever after. And in Malawi, they've got this call center. They call themselves the conscience of the world. It started half a year ago. They've got 20 staff members, and they spend the whole day calling up people by telephone or Skype in rich countries. And they'll say, "Hello, I'm so-and-so from Malawi, and I have one simple question for you. How do you justify to yourself that you are richer than 90% of the world's population. How do you justify to yourself you are richer than 90% of the world's population? I'm sure you're curious how people react. Most of them hang up right away. Maybe they're shocked or they think it's some trick advertising. But also often interesting conversations arise, like somebody will say, I work really hard for my money, so I deserve it. And the person in Malawi will say, in developing nations, people are working 14 hours a day often, 7 days a week, and they still can't afford to give their children an education. How do you justify that? By the end of the conversation, many people have such a bad conscience, they beg to make a donation. There was one man from the USA, he even decided to give away half of what he had. So he sold his house, and half of the money he got for it, he gave to Haiti. He also got his SUV car, saw it lengthwise, he sold half of it as a work of art, and the money from that he also gave to a good cause. I don't know if he still drives around in the other half, actually. But also lots of people, they want to give their donation straight to the Conscience of the World call center. And that way, in every 2 months, they have been able to double their size. And they expect, in 2 years' time, that they can employ every single unemployed person in Malawi, and they will be able to call up every person living in wealth in the world. Another positive provocation was done in Israel by a young man called Uri Or. And he anonymously sent large metal parts, it wasn't clear what they were, to both Palestinian families and Israeli families living on the West Bank. And they were really confused until one Palestinian boy received an assembly manual. And they had lots of arguments, but still they managed to put the parts together, and they formed a mini Ferris wheel. And the people who worked together on it feel really proud that they collaborated, and it has improved their relations. The third formula, people as products. It means you take a group of people at the edge of society, and you create a product around them that will make life better. Yankee already talked about the elderly. The elderly, in the West, we think of them negatively. They're slow, they stink, they're a burden. Not in Toronto, Canada, though, where some college students of medicine are starting an experiment, and they call it the French Kissing Elderly Peep Show. They have gone to elderly homes, 23 of them, and done an audition. And they found 17 couples who think it's much more fun performing in a French Kissing Peep Show than to sitting in an elderly home playing cards with drooling old ladies and men. This project I find a beautiful celebration of life and love, and it is improving the self-esteem of the people involved in it. As a final example, in Germany, Jens von Stemwede has started a gift shop, Freedom Gifts. And as a gift to each other, Germans can give that somebody in China gets a day off. So Jens, he will contact an entrepreneur in the toy, garment, or electronics industry, and he will pay this person to give a factory worker a free day. Germans really like giving this to each other because they are bored with normal material gifts. I hope you all are all as impressed with these examples as I am, and I hope some of you today are naughty brats with wild plans. And as I approach the end of my talk, I would like to ask you 4 questions, and please stick up your hand if this goes for you. Who of you thinks the story I have just told is true? Okay, a reasonable number thinks it's true. Who thinks that the story was not true? Hardly anybody thinks it wasn't true. Who thinks it was partly true? Ah, yeah, okay. That's quite a few also. And who thinks that it should all be true? Thank you. The correct answer is, it was partly true. Part of the time I have been lying to you, and this talk has been an act of mischief in itself. I'm also very happy that some of you think it should all be true, because maybe you can help me become true. Maybe you have a billionaire uncle, and you can introduce me to him. Because there's one thing that I've learned throughout my projects, and that is that reality always starts with a story. Tell somebody about your plan as if it already exists, and then they will get all excited and they will want to help you to make it come true. So I wish you all lots of luck in your endeavors, whether they will be mischievous or in other ways fantastic. Keep telling stories, and if you ever get hungry, just take a look in your wallet. Thank you.